The Forbidden Zone, the galaxy, was wide and full of countless stars. Great empires rose and fell, building fleets that could destroy planets and armies that could crush entire species. But in all the maps of the known galaxy, there was one place always left blank. A region marked with dark red lines and only 2 words, Forbidden Zone. For centuries, no empire claimed that region. Traders never traveled near it. Scouts avoided it, even when desperate for new routes. It was the space around an old, forgotten planet called Earth. Many stories were told about Earth. Some said it was once home to humans, a species too reckless to survive. Others said humans had disappeared long ago, leaving only ruins behind. But there were darker stories too. Whispers that fleets had entered Earth's region and never returned. Broken ships drifting like silent graves were sometimes found at its edge. No one who crossed too far ever came back. Still, to many alien warlords, those were just ghost stories. In the year 7421, by galactic count, a great council of warlords met. They came from the Core Dominion, the Zal Confederacy, and the mighty Yarthan Empire. These powers ruled much of the galaxy. Their fleets numbered in the thousands. Their weapons could burn the surface of stars. And yet, when the council spoke of expanding territory, the map on the table still had that empty zone. Warlord Tavar of the Yarthans slammed his clawed hand against the map. His voice was full of contempt. Why do we always leave this place untouched? It is rich with resources, I hear. Metal, water, habitable planets. Do you all fear an old myth? Do you fear shadows? Several of the other leaders laughed. It is said, replied Warlord Crass of the Core Dominion, that humans destroyed fleets with cunning weapons. But look around you, Tavar. That was long ago. Look at our strength. Look at our armadas. Do you truly believe a forgotten race could stop us now? The chamber filled with mocking voices. Only one remained silent. Commander Vera, a young officer from the Zal Confederacy, leaned forward. She had studied the reports, the wrecks found at the borders of Earth's region, the missing fleets. She spoke softly but firmly. If humans are gone, then why do their warnings still remain? Why do the wrecks drift near their borders? Why has no fleet ever returned to boast of victory? Do we not think before we march blindly into danger? The council grew quiet for a moment. But then Tivar's booming laughter broke the silence. Caution is for the weak. Power is all that matters. We shall enter this zone, claim its riches, and burn whatever stands against us. The other warlords cheered. Plans were made. Armadas prepared. To them, the Forbidden Zone was not a warning. It was a challenge to their pride. Far from the council chamber in the cold void of space, the Forbidden Zone lay silent. At its edge floated massive rings of rock, the remains of ancient battles. Blackened ship hulls still drifted there, some marked with strange burns, others torn apart by forces unknown. Any ship that dared approach would hear the same thing. A beacon, old but still alive, repeating in a human voice, "This is a restricted region. Turn back. You have been warned." For many, that was enough to flee. But for the proud armadas gathering now, it was nothing more than an insult. When news spread that the great empires were planning to march on Earth's space, the smaller nations of the galaxy grew restless. Merchants whispered in markets, "The warlords will be destroyed. They are playing with death." Scholars warned, history repeats itself. Arrogance blinds the powerful. But the warnings were ignored. The warlords wanted glory. Their fleets were unmatched. Why should they fear a single forgotten planet? Yet in hidden places, some remembered the truth. The humans were not gone. They had learned long ago that size and numbers did not always win wars. Their strength was in patience, in silence, in cunning. And as the alien armadas prepared to enter the Forbidden Zone, somewhere deep within the shadows of Earth's orbit, a fleet stirred. Human ships, sleek and black, hidden from all sensors, powered up their engines. They had been waiting, watching, preparing. The Forbidden Zone was not empty. It was a trap. Thus began the story. The galaxy believed humans were weak. But soon, they would remember why Earth's region was marked in red. Soon they would learn why no one returned. And soon, the greatest armadas of the galaxy would face a truth that power alone could not defeat. The Forbidden Zone was not just a place. It was a warning. A warning they chose to ignore. The first incursion. The alien armadas moved like storms through the stars. Hundreds of warships with hulls glowing under reactor light cut across the void in perfect formation. Their banners of the Arthan Empire, the Core Dominion, and the Zal Confederacy shone with pride. This was not a secret mission. It was a display of power. To the galaxy, it was meant as a message. The Forbidden Zone will fall. The myths of Earth are nothing but dust. For days, the fleets traveled closer to the marked region. As they passed neutral space, smaller traders and scouts turned away in fear. Some whispered prayers. Others marked the warlords as doomed. But none dared speak openly. The fleets were too strong, too proud. Commander Vera, standing aboard the Zal flagship Iron Fang, watched the stars ahead with unease. She had spoken her warning at the council, but the warlords had laughed. Now she was bound to this march of arrogance. Her sharp eyes scanned the edge of the zone. The stars there seemed different, colder, dimmer, as if the void itself tried to warn them back. The moment came when the lead ships crossed the invisible border. At once, the darkness around them grew unnaturally silent. Scanners showed no life, no transmissions, not even stray cargo ships. It was as if this region had been cut away from the living galaxy. Warlord Tavar, on his massive flagship Bloodfang, sneered at the quiet. "See? Empty space. The humans are long gone. This land is ours." But just as the warlords prepared their triumphant speech to their crews, the silence broke. A beacon lit up across the void. Old, weak, but still alive. Its signal spread across every frequency, entering every ship's comms. A human voice spoke. Calm. Steady. "You have entered restricted space. This is Earth's region. Leave now. You have been warned." The alien bridges filled with mocking laughter. Crews jeered at the recording. The warlords broadcast it to their entire fleets as if it were comedy. "Pathetic," Krass of the Core Dominion growled. "A ghost of a dead world tries to scare us." Yet Vera stood frozen. The voice was not like a dead echo. It was sharp, as if spoken only yesterday. Could the humans still be here? The fleets pressed deeper. Hours passed. They found no planets, no cities, no enemy ships. Only wrecks. Everywhere, the stars were littered with broken machines. Twisted metal hulls floated silently, scarred by strange burns. Some were alien, ships of other species that had tried before. Others were unrecognizable, made from designs no one had ever seen. Still, Tavar laughed. Old battles. Old trash. Humans only left us wreckage. But the deeper they went, the stranger the silence became. Ships reported brief flashes on their scanners, small blips that appeared and vanished. A faint hum was heard on some decks, though no source was found. Entire patrol groups reported seeing shadows moving just outside visual range. And then came the first sign. The scout cruiser Vexar sent out a warning. Its crew claimed they saw lights moving at impossible speeds. Before the signal could finish, the transmission cut out. The fleet quickly redirected long-range visuals. Where the Vexar had been, only debris remained. Its hull had been sliced in half as if cut by an invisible blade. The fleets fell silent. Warlord Krass snarled. An accident, malfunction, nothing more. But Commander Vera whispered to herself, "No, they are here." The Armadas continued, more cautious now. Entire squadrons spread out, scanning, hunting. Yet no target could be found. The enemy was invisible, untouchable. Hours later, another cruiser vanished. Then a destroyer. Always the same. One brief cry for help, then silence. The fleets grew restless. Crews began to murmur of curses, of human ghosts. To restore order, Warlord Tavar ordered the fleets to fire their weapons into the void. Massive beams of energy lit up the darkness, tearing through empty space. Missiles spread out in wide arcs, detonating in fiery bursts. The silence shattered with thunder. But when the smoke cleared, there was nothing. No enemy ship, no human fleet. Instead, a message appeared across every ship's main screen. It was not a voice this time, it was words. You were warned. Panic rippled through the Armadas. How had the humans entered their systems? How could they control what they saw? Vera's heart raced. She looked out the viewport, and for a moment she thought she saw it. Just a flicker of motion in the black. A ship, sleek and small, gliding like a shadow, and then it was gone. The warlords shouted orders. Fleets reformed. Weapons charged. Yet still no target presented itself. The crews did not know it yet, but the first battle had already begun. Because in the shadows of the Forbidden Zone, the humans had been watching. And they were not going to reveal themselves with grand speeches or bright attacks. They would strike quietly, cut one ship at a time, spread fear like poison. The warlords thought they were hunters, but in truth they had just entered a trap where they were the prey. And as the Armadas pressed forward deeper into human space, the shadows moved again, silent, patient, deadly. The first incursion had begun. The arrogance of power. The alien fleets pressed deeper into the forbidden zone. Though ships had vanished, though scouts whispered of shadows, the warlords refused to admit fear. To them, fear was weakness, and weakness was death. On the bridge of the great flagship Bloodfang, Warlord Tavar stood tall, his armor gleaming like polished steel. His golden crest flared behind him as he shouted across the comms, "Do not be shaken by tricks. Humans are cowards hiding in the dark. We will drag them out and burn them beneath our guns." The cheers of his crew echoed across the halls. Pride was their shield, arrogance their weapon. But Commander Vera, aboard the Zal flagship Ironfang, felt only dread. She studied the wreckage drifting outside, the broken hulks of ships centuries old. They had all thought the same as Tavar once. They had all entered here proud. And now they were dust. The fleets reformed into tight formations. Squadrons of destroyers spread wide, scanning for cloaked ships. Carriers launched swarms of drones, flooding the space with machines, searching every shadow. Yet the silence remained. The drones sent back only static. The scanners showed nothing but emptiness. And still, from time to time, a shadow flickered. A cruiser lost contact. A small craft disappeared, always without sound. Always without warning. Frustration boiled. Warlord Krass of the Core Dominion slammed his fist against his command chair. "Enough of this! We will not crawl like frightened beasts. Prepare the supercannon." His ship, the dreadnought Vorik's Wrath, powered up its most deadly weapon. Energy surged across its core, building into a burning sphere brighter than a sun. With a roar of engines, the dreadnought fired. A beam of destruction ripped across the void, cutting through debris, smashing asteroids to dust. Entire chunks of space glowed white-hot before fading into nothing. The fleets roared with approval. Pride returned to their voices. "Look," Tavar cried. "The ghosts cannot fight fire. Let them cower. Let them hide. We will cleanse this region with light." Again, laughter filled the channels. Again, the warlords boasted, but Vera's eyes narrowed. She watched the scans carefully. The beam had destroyed much, yes, but not all. And in the wreckage it revealed she saw something strange. Not broken alien ships, not ruins, but fragments of metal sharp and clean, too clean, as if they had been cut and placed there deliberately. A warning. A sign. She opened her mouth to speak, but the alarms rang first. One of the carriers at the far edge of formation screamed across comms. "Unknown contacts. Fast moving! Too small to lock on." Before the warlords could respond, explosions lit up the dark. The carrier shuddered, broke apart, and then vanished in a ball of fire. Its drones winked out all at once like candles in a storm. Panic rippled across the Armadas. Crews shouted, weapons fired blindly into the void. But the enemy was never there. Only more shadows, more flickers, more silence. And then a voice. It was calm. "Cold. Human. You were warned. Leave or be destroyed." The fleets froze. It was no beacon now. No old recording. This was live. "The humans were here," Tavar snarled. "Find them. Fire everything. Show these insects the wrath of empires." Weapons unleashed across the void. Thousands of beams, rockets, and plasma storms burned through the dark. The space around them lit up like a newborn star, but still nothing. Only wrecks, only silence, and then a counterstrike. 3 alien destroyers erupted in flames, torn apart by invisible fire. Their hulls cracked open, their engines shattered. No trace of the attacker appeared on scanners. The warlords shouted over each other, fury masking their fear. "Cowards," Krass screamed. "They cannot face us in open battle." Tavar thundered. "Keep firing!" But their crews whispered different words. "They are everywhere. They see us. They are playing with us." Commander Vera clenched her fists. She could see the truth clearer than ever. The humans were not using size nor brute strength. They were using patience, precision. Every strike was chosen. Every attack timed to spread fear. This was not a war of ships. This was a war of minds. And the humans were winning. She tried to speak again on the open channel. "Warlords, listen to me. This is not a fight we can win with pride. Every fleet that came here before us thought the same as you. And now, silence." Tava roared, cutting her off. You will not spread weakness among my warriors. We are the Armadas of the galaxy, and no shadow fleet will frighten us. The fleets pushed onward, deeper still. Pride would not allow retreat. Arrogance would not allow caution. But as they moved, the shadows followed. Small human ships, unseen, weaving between debris, hiding in silence. Their weapons ready, their patience endless. And though the warlords did not know it, the trap was closing because humans did not waste fire. They did not waste words. Every strike, every warning was building to one thing, the real battle. The Armadas thought they had seen the enemy. They had not. They thought they had heard human power. They had only heard whispers. The arrogance of power blinded them. And soon, that blindness would bring ruin. The storm had not yet begun. The trap springs. The alien Armadas crawled deeper into the forbidden zone, their formation tightening, their weapons fully charged. The silence of the void pressed on every bridge, heavy like a predator's breath. The crews were restless. They whispered in corners, glancing nervously at flickering screens. Every shadow looked like an enemy. Every sensor glitch felt like a warning. But the warlords showed no doubt. Warlord Tavar's voice thundered across the fleet-wide channel. Stand firm. Humans are nothing but rats. They hide because they cannot face us. But their shadows cannot stop fire. We will crush them soon enough. His words carried pride, but beneath the surface even he felt the weight of silence. Commander Vera, aboard the Iron Fang, studied her scanners. Her officers reported strange spikes. Short bursts of energy here, faint trails there, always vanishing too quickly to lock onto. She leaned closer, eyes sharp. These are not ghosts, she murmured. They're guiding us, hurting us. But no one on the bridge dared agree aloud. Hours passed. The fleets advanced. Then it happened. A small patrol squadron on the left flank reported movement. Tiny ships fast darting through the wreckage, targets locked, shouted one of the commanders. They're running, pursue! 3 destroyers broke formation, chasing the shadows. For a moment, it looked like they had the advantage. The alien ships roared forward, weapons ready. But then alarm screamed. Gravity mines, invisible until triggered, flared to life. The destroyers were caught in sudden pulls, dragged sideways into asteroids. Their hulls tore apart on impact, exploding into fire. The fleet gasped. Vera whispered, "The humans wanted you to chase." Before the shock faded, the humans struck again. From the darkness, faint flashes erupted. Not beams, not missiles, something different. Invisible until impact. The alien battleship Goric Prime shuddered as unseen fire ripped through its engines. Its glow died, leaving it adrift like a corpse. Another cruiser fell next. Then another. The humans did not attack in waves. They attacked like hunters, striking one at a time, vanishing before retaliation. The warlords shouted orders. Raise shields. Blind fire all sectors. Find them. Weapons unleashed. Beams and plasma bolts crossing the void. The sky burned white as the Armadas tried to swat shadows. But the humans were gone before every shot, and then, as silence returned, a message came. Not a recording. Not words on a screen. A live broadcast, a human voice, calm and steady, filled every ship. You were warned. This is only the beginning. Fear rippled across the fleets. Even the warlords fell quiet. Vera stood still, her heart racing. She had expected cunning, but not this. Not such precision. The humans were not just defending. They were playing with the invaders, cutting them piece by piece. On the Bloodfang, Tavar slammed his fist down. Enough. They are insects. I will show them real fire. He ordered his fleet to activate the Oblivion cannons. Weapons of terrible power that could vaporize moons. Energy gathered, glowing like miniature suns across the flagship's hull. The fleets held their breath. But before the cannons could fire, a new alarm rang. The warlords turned toward their tactical displays and froze. Their ships were surrounded, not by massive fleets, not by giant warships, but by hundreds of small signals circling in tight arcs just beyond sensor lock. They had been there the entire time, hidden in silence. Human ships, stealth craft. Fast, invisible everywhere. And with one command they struck. Explosions tore through the outer ranks of the alien fleet. Engines burned, hulls split, weapons silenced. Human strikes came from every angle, vanishing as soon as they hit. Alien crews screamed across comms. Some ships fired at allies in panic, blinded by shadows. The trap had closed. Vera gripped her chair, whispering, "They let us walk this far, only so they could kill us all at once." On the Vorax's wrath, Warlord Crass roared in anger. "Fight back. Fire on everything. Drown them in fire." And the fleets obeyed. Weapons roared in every direction. The void lit up brighter than a star, beams slashing through the dark, missiles tearing through space. But the humans did not meet them in open fire. They vanished, slipping through the chaos, letting the alien armadas waste their strength. When the storm of fire ended, dozens of alien ships were gone. But not a single human vessel had been captured. On the main channel, the human voice returned. "You entered our home with pride. You ignored the warning. Now you will pay the price," the voice cut out, and then the humans struck again. This time they did not just destroy. They crippled. Engines targeted, power cores disabled, weapon systems shattered. The alien fleets were left broken, drifting, watching helplessly as shadows picked them apart. Pride turned to fear. Fear turned to silence. The warlords, once full of arrogance, now stared into the dark with growing horror. For the first time they understood. They had not come to hunt humans. They had walked into a battlefield humans had already prepared, a battlefield they could never control. The trap had sprung. Humanity's shadow fleet. The forbidden zone burned with scattered wrecks. Alien ships drifted, crippled, some already broken beyond repair. Yet even in their ruin, the warlords refused to believe they were beaten. "They strike and vanish," growled Warlord Crass aboard the Vorax's wrath. "They fear open battle. They are nothing but thieves hiding in the dark." But his words felt hollow. Around him, officers whispered of the unseen enemy, of the shadows that tore through mighty fleets with surgical strikes. Commander Vera knew the truth. From her seat aboard the Iron Fang, she watched the pattern. The humans were not random. They struck only when it mattered: engines, power cores, comm arrays. Every attack was chosen to cripple, not waste. Her voice was quiet but sharp. "They are not thieves. They are hunters, and we are trapped inside their hunting ground." For centuries, the galaxy had believed humans were gone, forgotten, weak. But in truth, humans had changed. They had studied every fleet that dared to enter. They had learned patience, silence, invisibility. Where the alien armadas relied on sheer power, humans relied on shadows. They had built ships no scanner could track, coated with layers of black alloy that bent light, bent heat, bent sound itself. Their engines left no trail. Their weapons left no glow. These were not grand battleships or shining dreadnoughts. These were phantoms, fleets of hunters designed to bleed giants dry. This was the Shadow Fleet. The alien warlords did not yet understand. Tavar, furious at every loss, ordered his fleets forward. "Push deeper. They cannot hide forever. Burn their nests. Destroy their world." The armadas obeyed, but every step forward was slower, more cautious. Drones scanned, beams swept the void, but the humans remained unseen. Then the whispers began. A frigate crew claimed they heard voices through their comms, human voices whispering in their own tongue. Another ship reported lights flickering in its corridors, though no intruder was found. Fear spread faster than fire, and then the attacks came again. Small human ships darted out of the dark, firing weapons that tore through shields as if they were paper. Alien destroyers crumbled, their hulls split by precise bursts. Before the fleets could fire back, the humans were gone. Over and over it happened. Ships died and no enemy could be tracked. The alien armadas, proud and vast, were being cut apart by shadows. Vera stood at her console, her mind racing. Every strike, every tactic revealed a truth she had feared. "Do you not see?" she said aloud, though no one listened. "They don't fight for numbers. They fight for control. They make us blind. They make us waste. And then they strike where it hurts most." Her officers shifted uncomfortably, but none dared answer. To admit she was right meant admitting defeat. On the Bloodfang, Tavar bared his fangs in rage. "These humans are nothing, cowards. Let them come face us openly if they dare." As if answering, a new voice broke through the silence. It was human, calm, cold, direct. "You think us cowards because we do not fight as you do. But we have no need for size. No need for waste. We fight to end wars before they begin." The fleets froze. Every ship heard the voice. Every crew felt its weight, and then the voice sharpened. "Your pride brought you here. Your armadas will not leave." The channel cut. A moment later, the Shadow Fleet revealed its power. Across the void, dozens of signals appeared at once. Human ships, small and sleek, shimmered into view as their cloaks dropped. They surrounded the alien armadas like wolves around prey. They were not grand in size, not impressive in numbers, but they were everywhere, perfectly placed, weapons already locked. The alien fleets opened fire in panic. Beams slashed across space. Missiles flared, but the humans did not meet them head-on. Instead, they scattered, weaving through the chaos. Their cloaks flickered, vanishing again. They struck with perfect aim, slicing engines, breaking formations, tearing ships apart with ruthless precision. Alien ships collided, firing blindly at ghosts. Their once proud formations broke into chaos. In the middle of the storm, Vera watched in awe and dread. The humans were not stronger. They were not bigger, but they were smarter. They fought not to prove glory, but to survive, to win with certainty. The Shadow Fleet had been waiting for centuries, watching, preparing. And now, they were exacting their price, she whispered to herself, though none around her heard. This is why no one returns. This is why Earth's space is forbidden. By the battle's end, dozens more alien ships burned. The void glowed with fire, broken hulls drifting like tombstones. The humans vanished once more, slipping back into silence as if they had never been there at all. The alien armadas were left shaken, bloodied, humiliated. But even then, the warlords refused to yield. Tvar roared into the comms, his pride unbroken. Shadows cannot win wars. They cannot stand against fire forever. We will drown them in strength. Yet behind his fury, fear lingered, because deep in his heart he knew. The shadows were watching still, and soon they would strike again. The desperate counterattack, the Forbidden Zone, was littered with fire and broken ships. Alien armadas that once stretched across the stars now bore wounds they could not hide. Carriers burned, cruisers drifted, engines died, and yet the humans were nowhere to be seen. The warlords raged. Warlord Krass's voice thundered over the comms. We are the masters of this galaxy. We do not cower before shadows. We will end this game now. On his flagship Vorex Wrath, the crew obeyed at once. Engineers rerouted every reactor, every generator into the ship's superweapons. Across the fleet, other warlords gave the same command. The order was clear. Unleash everything. Power built across the armadas. Weapons that could crack moons glowed hot. Cannons bright as suns charged in silence. Hundreds of missile bays opened at once, their payloads ready to drown entire systems in fire. The void hummed with raw energy. And then, with a single command, the fleets unleashed it all. The Forbidden Zone erupted. Beams of plasma cut across the void in burning arcs, tearing through wreckage and asteroid fields. Nuclear lances flared brighter than lightning. Missiles spread in every direction, detonating into storms of flame. The dark was gone, replaced by light fierce enough to blind. The aliens roared with triumph. Burn them out. Scorch the shadows. Let nothing survive. For hours the fleets rained destruction across the empty void. But when the fire faded, silence returned. No wreckage. No screams. No sign of victory. The humans had simply vanished before the storm began. On the Iron Fang, Commander Vera felt her stomach twist. She had watched the alien armadas burn their strength, firing at ghosts. Their reactors ran hot. Their fleets grew weaker with every wasted blast. They want this, she whispered. The humans are waiting for us to exhaust ourselves. Every time we fire, they grow stronger. But the warlords did not listen. Tvar snarled across the fleet channel. Do not falter. More power, reload. We will not stop until their world is ashes. And then the shadows struck again. It began with a ripple across the void. A wave, invisible yet crushing, swept through the fleets. Engines failed. Shields collapsed. Lights across entire warships flickered and died. The warlords froze. What is this? Krass shouted. Sabotage. But Vera knew the truth. Her scanner screamed with readings she had never seen before. A weapon not of brute force, but of precision. An energy wave crafted to disable, not destroy. The humans were not only hunters. They were engineers of terror. Ships drifted helplessly, their systems broken. Crews scrambled in darkness, panic spreading faster than orders. And then the human fleet revealed itself. Dozens of sleek ships shimmered into view, surrounding the crippled armadas. They were small, almost fragile compared to alien dreadnoughts, but their presence was undeniable. They moved like shadows given form, silent, cold, precise, and their weapons were already locked. The first strike came swift. A human corvette darted forward, firing a focused beam that tore through a battleship's spine. The alien giant split in two, its hull exploding in silence. Another strike followed. Missiles, sleek and silent, slipped past crippled shields and shattered engines. Alien crews screamed, powerless to resist. Every shot was chosen. Every attack left the fleets weaker. The warlords bellowed in fury, demanding their ships fight back. But their words were drowned out by chaos. Officers reported dead engines, frozen weapons, broken systems. The humans had not only crippled ships, they had crippled morale. Vera stood frozen, watching the slaughter. It was not a battle, it was an execution. The Shadow Fleet attacked like surgeons, slicing away every strength, every hope. She whispered almost to herself, "This is why no one returns." They don't destroy fleets with brute force. They dismantle them piece by piece until nothing remains. At last the human voice returned. Calm, cold, certain. "Your power means nothing here. Your weapons mean nothing here. You were warned." The fleets went silent. Even the warlords had no words, and then the voice sharpened. "You will not leave this place unless we allow it." The message ended and the shadows moved again. Ships vanished into darkness, reappearing only to strike. Alien vessels burned one by one, collapsing into wreckage. Entire squadrons surrendered to panic, breaking formation, colliding as they tried to flee. The desperate counterattack had failed. The Armadas were broken, their pride shattered. But still, the warlords refused to surrender. Tavar gritted his teeth, his voice shaking with rage. "Fight, fight until the last ship. Let them know we will not bend." Yet even he knew the truth. The humans were not fighting to prove strength. They were fighting to survive, to warn, to destroy arrogance before it could spread further. And nothing could stop them now. The counterattack had been meant to end the war. Instead, it had sealed the fleet's fate. The humans had waited, patient as ever, for this very moment. And now, with the Armadas weakened, they would finish what they had begun. The collapse of the Armada. The Forbidden Zone was no longer silent. It screamed with fire. Alien ships, once proud, once invincible, burned in every direction. What had begun as a march of power was now a graveyard in the making. The Shadow Fleet moved like blades in the dark. Small human ships cut through the chaos, striking engines, disabling reactors, vanishing before any response. They did not fight for glory. They fought to end the fight entirely. On the flagship Bloodfang, Warlord Tavar raged. His claws dug into the armrests of his chair as he shouted across the comms. "Do not falter. Hold formation. Crush them with your will." But there was no formation to hold. His once mighty armada was broken. Squadrons drifted apart. Captains panicked. Fleets collided as they tried to escape invisible hunters. On the Vorax Wrath, Warlord Krass bellowed with fury. "Cowards! Face us openly. Stop hiding!" But even as he shouted, his screens flickered. Warning after warning blared. Engines offline, shields collapsing, power grid unstable. His officers looked to him in fear, but he had no answer. Commander Vera sat aboard the Iron Fang, her face pale, her eyes sharp. She had seen war before. She had watched fleets burn. But never like this. This was not war. This was dismantling. The humans struck not to kill quickly, but to break completely. Their precision was terrifying. One ship disabled here, another crippled there, until entire sections of the Armada fell into silence. Helpless and adrift, she whispered, barely audible. "They don't just destroy ships. They destroy hope." The collapse began at the edges. A squadron of alien frigates tried to retreat, engines blazing, but human corvettes appeared like wraiths, firing invisible beams that sliced through the fleeing ships. Engines exploded, leaving the survivors dead in the water. Then a carrier group turned its weapons inward, mistaking shadows for enemies. Their missiles tore through their own escorts, leaving only wreckage. Fear spread faster than orders. Crews screamed. Captains ignored commands. Ships fled in every direction, breaking what little order remained. And through it all, the humans pressed closer. The Shadow Fleet's tactics were clear now. They struck like wolves, isolating prey, tearing apart the weak first. Each disabled ship became an obstacle, blocking escape, spreading panic. The aliens, once predators, were now cornered prey. On the open channel, the human voice returned, calm, cold, final. This is your end. You were warned. Your pride has destroyed you. The words carried no anger, no triumph. Only certainty. The fleets froze. Crews wept. Even the warlords fell silent. Then came the killing blow. Across the void, human ships released their next weapon. Not beams, not missiles, but pulses. Short bursts of invisible energy that shut down entire systems at once. One by one, alien dreadnoughts went dark. Their lights faded, their cannons silenced, their engines stalled. Titans that once commanded galaxies now drifted like corpses in the void. The shadow fleet swarmed in, cutting apart the helpless giants with surgical strikes. Explosions lit the darkness, each one a tombstone of arrogance. On the Bloodfang, Tavar refused to believe it. No, we are the Yarthan Empire. We cannot fall to shadows. But as he spoke, the human fleet moved in. A single corvette darted past his flagship, its weapons precise. The Bloodfang shook violently. Warning lights blazed across the bridge, engines failing, shields collapsing. We're dead in the water, Teva roared in fury. But fury could not fix a broken ship. His flagship drifted, crippled, surrounded by shadows. On the Vorax Wrath, Krass fought to the last. His dreadnought fired blindly, launching every weapon in desperate fury. But the humans did not meet him head-on. They circled, struck, vanished. Piece by piece, the Vorax Wrath was cut apart, its weapons silenced, its hull split until only a burning skeleton remained. Krass died still screaming, his pride louder than his fear. The collapse spread like fire through dry grass. Entire fleets, once glorious, were now wreckage. Ships floated broken and silent, survivors begging for mercy. But the humans gave none. They had warned. The invaders had ignored. This was the price. Commander Vera stood silent, watching it all. Her heart pounded with terror, but also with clarity. They are not weak. They never were. They chose the shadows. They chose patience, and now, they are stronger than all of us. Her officers looked at her with wide eyes, waiting for orders, but she had none to give. There was no winning. No survival. Only silence. At last the human voice returned one final time. This is mercy. Leave now what remains of you, or none of you will leave at all. The words cut like blades. The alien warlords, once so proud, were left with only fragments of fleets, fragments of power. Their armadas had collapsed, their arrogance shattered. The survivors did not answer. They fled. And the Forbidden Zone fell silent again, the shadows returning to their watch.